welcome to our bi-monthly podcast. This is Vicky Rine, the director of our Spark program here at Boysville. Welcome, and I wanted to talk about, I promised y'all last week that I'd talk about some risky behavior that you want to protect your children from. So that's what we're going to be exploring today. What is that risky behavior? What does that look like? And what are some that you want to? Because the balance is we have to allow our children to be able to take certain risks. But of course, we don't want them to go far and deep in that risky behavior, do we? So let's look at it. We got to allow your kiddo to experience some risk. So what are those kind of risks that I'm talking about to experience? We've got to have them where they're not always depending on us, right? And they don't always ask us, what do we want? What is this? What is that? To give them some of that independence. So a lot of times we insulate our children so dramatically that they don't have any healthy risk-taking behaviors at all. You know, things are so much different now than there once were. It used to be you just let your kids go outside and play, and when the street lights came on, you had them come on in, right? But now we don't do that. And for a lot of good reasons, we don't do that. Parents need to be outside with their kids to watch their kids and do all that kind of thing. But, and I know that's important, but when we do that, we don't allow our kids to fail. We don't even like it when our kids fall. You know, we're so worried about them getting hurt. And kids will get hurt. There will be skinned knees. There will be skinned elbows. And that's normal. That's a normal part of childhood. So that they understand that cause and effect. So when you look at teenagers, we worry a lot about them getting hurt, especially their hearts. But you know, teens need to have some failed romantic type interest so that it helps them understand what long-lasting, healthy relationships are. But oh, I know, it hurts our hearts so much when they have those type of encounters with those first romantic interest. And then when they're little and they fall out of a tree, fall down the driveway, fall off the bike. But those are all important experiences for kids so that they can understand what healthy risk-taking is. If we don't understand what healthy risk-taking is, we don't necessarily understand what unhealthy risk-taking is. A lot of us as parents rescue our kids really quickly. We don't let them have, or we remove the opportunity to navigate a situation themselves. You know, if your kid isn't invited to a birthday party, well, that's okay. We didn't want to go to that party anyway. Let's go ahead and I'll take you to McDonald's or I'll take you here. It's more fun with me than it is with them anyway. So we kind of rescue them. We take that opportunity away from them to feel bad and then to problem solve. What does that look like? How do I navigate through this? And we want them to navigate through those hardships. We want them to solve their problems on their own. We don't need to be there solving their problems for them all the time, right? You're not going to be there when they're adults. Here's the thing, they're learning. They're learning how to make choices and what the consequences are that are associated with those choices. They can't learn it if we keep rescuing them. Sometimes that works in the short term, but it doesn't work for the long term at all. And I think the worst thing is, when I think about this, I think the worst thing for kids is they get used to an adult rescuing them, so that as they get older and older and older, they keep looking to the adult to rescue them, and then they start blaming. Well, it's your fault. You shouldn't have let me do this. You shouldn't have let me do that. You shouldn't have let me, whatever, fill in the blank. And all of a sudden, we have a whole bunch of incompetent adults because they've been too busy blaming other adults for their issues. So, a lot of times, we let our own guilt, I think, get in the way. Children, here, newsflash, children don't have to love every minute of their life, and they won't. As soon as you say no, they quit loving every minute of their life. But we as parents, we want them to love everything. A lot of times I ask parents, what's the one thing you want for your kid? If you could only choose one thing. And they say, oh, I want him or her to know that they're loved. Well, when they're little, you say no to them, they feel like they're not loved right off. They associate those two because they don't have the emotional maturity. So right there, you've kind of failed. So when we look at things that we want for our kids, we want them to become leaders, at least in their own life, right? We want them to become leaders in their own life. So by becoming leaders in their own life, we have to help them figure out what risk that they should take. In other words, some kids don't like to put themselves out there because they don't know what's going to happen. Those are your very competent kids, your really responsible kids that are so afraid of making a mistake that they'd rather hang back than go forward. And we're in danger of creating incompetent adults if we don't recognize that and challenge them to move forward. And then allowing them to fail. What could you do different that next time? How'd that look? And having that open communication with them so you can help them navigate their path, but they're the ones walking the path. Does it make sense? I want you to help them navigate it, but I want you to allow them to walk it. One of the ways is we share our own mistakes, our own past mistakes. But here's the trap we as adults fall in. I shared my mistakes, and guess what? They made the exact same mistakes I did. Well, when we look at kiddos, a lot will really take into heart what you've said. This is a regret I had. I didn't make this choice wisely. I could have done this, this, and this, but instead I let my pride get in the way, or I didn't think my parents knew what they were talking about, so I did this, this, and this. And here your kid does exactly the kinds of things you did that you have already told them was a bad choice. And then you're looking at those people thinking, oh my gosh, what is wrong with those kids? Well, nothing. Nothing is wrong with them. They just have to walk that path of making those mistakes. Now, where we fail as parents is by making them feel like we think they're completely idiotic or morons. We're like, I told you not to do that, right? I told you what would happen and you still chose to do it. But, the message is, kid, you are a moron. And they get that message. Now, I know that's not what you're really trying to say. You're just going, what in the world possessed you to do this? So here's kind of some of the stuff that we can say, okay? What'd you learn from that? What could you have done different? What's another choice you could have made? How did that make you feel when that happened? But allowing them to experience the consequence. the more you do it, the younger that they are, the less that they will get into the risky behavior that none of us want our kids to go through. Drugs, alcohol, sex, that type of thing. Those are the risky behaviors. Those getting in a car with somebody you don't know. Those going to a house when you feel that little voice inside you that says this is not safe. Those are the risky behaviors we don't want our kids to engage in. So we help them learn down here when they're young so that they're more equipped when they get older to make those wiser choices. So we don't rescue, right? We give them the opportunity to make mistakes. We want them, in fact, to make mistakes so that we can help them. Sometimes we look at our kids and go, oh my gosh, they are so bright or they are so smart. Maybe you have a kid that's really gifted in athletics or music or academics. Don't mistake giftedness for maturity, because a lot of times we do. I know for myself, I have an older daughter that was academically gifted. Everything that she touched academically, she excelled at. And she was just one of those really responsible kids. And you think of them as being more emotionally mature than their peers, and perhaps they are. Perhaps they are. But sometimes they're not. They're very gifted in this area, but as far as their emotional maturity, it's very much on track for what their development is. So a lot of times we as parents don't recognize what they can or can't do. For example, I had my kids start the summer between 6th and 7th grade doing their own laundry. I figured they could read, they could follow directions, and that it's an important life skill. I've noticed there's a lot of kids out there when I talk to adults. There's a lot of kids that don't know certain life skills. How to paint. Whether it's paint a wall or paint a baseboard, or they don't know how to do that. Well, our goal is, of course, one day that they'll own their own home. Well, we all know, those of us who own our own home, we all know there's walls that need to be painted. There's stuff that needs to be cleaned. Sometimes we don't show our kids where to look for the dirt. We just kind of say, clean that, instead of really helping them and guiding them what it is we mean when we say clean. Because sometimes it's not what they're doing. That's a life skill. That's definitely a life skill. My uncle, he was just one of those incredible men. And I remember my dad wanted me to learn how to change a tire on my car and how to change the oil and do all that kind of thing. And I was resistant because I was like, hello, I will get so dirty doing that. And the lug nuts are on so tight, it was hard to get them off. And I was like, ah. So my uncle said this to me. He said, these are important skills. You have to know how to do them. But that doesn't mean you have to do them. That means you have to know how to do them so you make sure somebody that's doing it does it right. And you understand what they're talking about. He said, the car is important enough that if you're not going to do it, make sure you find somebody that will. But know what it is you're asking them to do. I thought that was a great example for me to be able to know I don't have to do this stuff that I hate, but I do have to have enough money to pay somebody else to do it, right? Mowing a lawn. We have to teach our children about certain things like that and give them the opportunity to make a mistake. Oh, my poor dad. He loved mowing the yard. And he was very particular on how the lawn was to be mowed. Well, one day he made the mistake and he told me, Vicky, go out there and mow the lawn. I've showed you how to use the lawnmower. So you go out there and you mow the lawn. So I did. But being the kind of kid I was, I thought, I don't like walking in lines. That's so boring. So I remember I mowed my name in the front yard. And my father came out and he was like, no, what are you doing? You know, he got all over me. And I remember thinking, what difference does it make? And then later on, years go by, he told me the way the grass is mowed and the different, but he took the time then to explain why it made a difference. And it's made me think a lot of times about we as parents forget to explain what our expectations are. We just say stuff like go mow the lawn. Or sometimes we don't. And FYI, Dad kind of shied away from me doing the lawn after that. So as kids, sometimes that happens too. We kind of push our parents. So they finally go, oh, no, we're not letting that one do anything. And of course that doesn't help in the life skills department, right? So we really have to allow them to do those kinds of things and not mistake their giftedness in certain things for just maturity. But we're still teaching them. You guys have got 18 years. 18 years. There's a lot to be taught in 18 years. And there's no magic age of responsibility. You know, we're always looking for that magic age. You have to take into consideration who the kid is, what their temperament is like, what their personality is like, before you can decide when you can really trust them and when you can really believe in them and believe that they will make the right choices. Because there's no magic age of responsibility. So when you look at that, you have to decide, what can my 10-year-old do? There's some things I will tell you they can't do. But there's other things they can. Because sometimes we have unrealistic expectations, like with a 2-year-old, they can dress themselves. Perhaps they can pull up some of their pants, but buttoning, zipping, that kind of thing. It's unrealistic to expect a 2-year-old to do that. But it is realistic to expect a 5-year-old to do it. So make sure that you understand what your kid can do and then help them develop those life skills. Here's a hard one. Helping your kids avoid those risky behaviors you don't like. Guess what? You have got to practice what you preach. That's one of those things we as parents don't like to do. If you don't want your kiddo to lie, they better not catch you in a lie. If you don't want your children to drink to excess, they better not see you drunk. If you don't want them to do recreational drugs, guess what? You better not do recreational drugs. You are the biggest model for those kids. If you want them to be polite, make sure you're polite. If you want them to be kind to others, make sure that you demonstrate that as well. This parenting thing is not easy because we're developing character. We're trying to develop character in our own kids, and we're working on us all at the same time. That's not fun to do, and that's not easy to do. So here's some challenges for those of you who are ready to take on these challenges. Allow them to attempt things that stretch them and even let them fail. It's okay for them to learn how to cook, even if the food is horrible. The good thing would be you in there with them, right? Helping them, showing them, but allowing them to do it. Allowing them to come up with the menu. Allowing them to understand how much that particular meal costs the family. how much it will feed, so on and so forth. Furnish projects that require some patience, so some time. Why? Well, kids today really have trouble with delaying any type of gratification. I mean, think about it. I was just talking to somebody about Amazon. If you want it, you can get it tomorrow, right? You don't have to wait a week or 2 weeks. It'll be there tomorrow. If you want to see a movie that's out on the movie theater, you don't necessarily have to go to the movie theater. You can pay for it and it'll be in your house on Netflix or whatever, Hulu, whatever whatever the different sites are that carry those things. We don't have a lot of delayed gratification. I get annoyed when I'm in the fast food line and it takes so long. Because I'm like, I'm in a fast food line. It should be fast. But we don't like our gratification to be delayed at all. So give them those projects that take patience so that they can experience that and learn that. Teach them. Life is about choices and trade-offs. You know, we can't always have exactly what we want. Sometimes we have to go, okay, I want this, but if I get this, I can't have that. So which do I want more? I remember one year with my younger daughter, I gave her a budget for her school. You know, the school clothes you buy in the beginning. Oh my goodness, she wanted this pair of designer jeans. I can't even remember who the designer was at the time, but she really wanted the designer jeans. Literally, it took most all of her budget. I think she got that pair of jeans and one shirt, and that was it. And I told her, okay, but this is the budget. This is all I have. So if you want those jeans, you have to understand, that's it. You're going to get jeans and that one pair of shirt, one pair of jeans and that shirt, and that will be it for the whole semester. By the end of that semester, those poor jeans, they had been washed and washed and washed. And she was like, the next time she got the budget, she figured out where else to go, what she could get, the trade-off. Again, I allowed her to make a choice, and I had allowed her to suffer the consequence from that choice. So what that did is that taught her how to make choices and trade-offs. And by the way, I'm going to tell you, my girls are much better shoppers than I am. Much better shoppers than I am. And they watch their pennies really well. So those are your challenges this week. We'll go over them again. Allow them to attempt things that stretch them, and even let them fail. Next one is furnish some projects that take some patience to help them learn about delayed gratification. And then last, teach them that life's about choices and trade-offs. I wish you luck. I can't wait to hear how it went. Now, next week, we're going to discuss some ways that divorce can and will affect children and what you can do to make that a positive experience for your kiddos. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to speaking to y'all next week. Again, this is Vicky Rine with our Spark program at Boysville. Have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.